In this presentation, I will aim to explain the relationship between conveying things like meaning, tone, and emotion in film to camera techniques such as shot types and camera movement. I'm very interested in how directors will use a certain shot in order to subconsciously trigger the viewer into thinking a certain way, and how these techniques can mean different things to different genres. I will now explain my film shot by shot and explain why I've put in place the shots, angles, and movements that I did, as well as explaining alternatives. Firstly, we have the extreme wide shot or establishing shot. An extreme wide shot can be used in many different ways, but as it places the camera far away from the subject, it is a great tool to help represent the scale of a character in comparison to his surroundings. Having said that, an extreme wide shot, in some cases, can also be known as an establishing shot, as it is a way of introducing the scene. This is a very traditional technique, stemming from classic Hollywood, as the camera placement is normally far away from the subject and slowly proceeds to move further in as the story advances. Even though this is a traditional technique, it is still just as effective, and I have included it in my film so the audience know in what sort of place the story will unfold, as mentioned before, to introduce the scene. For the second scene, I had to decide on a mid shot of our subject talking on the phone, or an over the shoulder shot of our subject buying a toy for his cousin online. In the end, I decided to go with the first option, as an over the shoulders is more traditionally used for a conversation between two, and this way I can give out more information on the plot of my film. I also decided to include a camera pan in my film. In the scene where the character walks into the house, we have already seen an image of the house at the start of the film, and what the pan, which includes both the subject and the house, allows us to do is associate the two with each other, as well as introducing the next part of the story. This is when our subject arrives home and we see our first close-up of the film, which in this case is used to highlight the importance of the package and forces the audience's attention to be drawn towards it. In this shot, we can see a low angle from underneath the box, which is a commonly used technique in the world of film, and, like the establishing shot, still very effective. High and low angle shots are used to show the dominance or weakness of a character or object. In this instance, instead of using a high angle shot of me looking down on the box, we see a low angle shot with the box in the foreground and the subject in the background, even though we understand a human's control over an inanimate object. And what this does is suggest to the audience that something's not quite right. As seen before, we now have a close-up, however this time for a different purpose. This shot is aimed at showing the emotions of a character and intensifying them. A mid or even a wide shot might be able to show a character's emotion, but won't be able to highlight it quite like a close-up. A perfect example of how this would work is if a character feels emotionally overwhelmed or feels trapped. A close-up can illustrate that by filling the whole frame up with the character's face, therefore overwhelming the viewer more so than a traditional mid-shot by literally trapping the subject in the frame. The second low-angle shot that we've previously seen now works for a different purpose as well. We know that something is not quite right with the package the subject has received, and by showing a low angle from the point of view of the box towards the subject, it now personifies the contents of the box in preparation for the next shot, or the reveal. When it's revealed that the contents of the box is, in fact, a real cat and not a toy one, I introduce this with a pedestal shot. A pedestal shot would be most commonly used to illustrate a link between two scenes, sets, or characters. In this scene from Inglourious Basterds, Tarantino uses it not only to show the link between the Nazi officer, the farmer, and his Jewish friends he is hiding under the floorboards, but also to illustrate their close proximity, which creates an incredibly tense atmosphere, combined with a chilling close-up of the floorboards, revealing the whites of their eyes and flagging danger warnings. It also can be used, if heading upwards, to illustrate the might of a certain character, whilst still remaining more friendly than a low-angle shot. I decided to include this ironically, as a kitten is hardly a mighty animal and plays on the light-hearted payoff for my film. When preparing my experiment, I found my research via films, online, and in books. such as in Blaine Brown's Theory and Practice, Image Making for Cinematographers and Directors, and Film Techniques and Aesthetics by Michael Rabiger, as well as being influenced by directors such as Tarantino, Wes Anderson, and Edgar Wright, to name just a few. As for what I could have done better, is included less commonly used shots, such as adding a Dutch tilt at the end of my film when it's revealed what's inside the box. This would demonstrate an uneasy feeling for the character, as well as possibly including a truck shot as my character walks into the kitchen, which adds a smooth, calming introduction to the scene, in an attempt to give off a feeling of the calm before the storm, so to speak. I could have also come up with a stronger plot, allowing me to better demonstrate the effect of the different techniques and how to combine them. I could have also come up with a stronger plot, allowing me to better demonstrate the effect of different techniques and how to combine them. Since joining my course prior to university, I have known the importance of shot types and techniques, and have a continued interest in experimenting with them and what they can do for the progression of your film. I'm interested in how different shots can be attributed to certain styles and how certain directors will be known for how they shoot their footage. How Kubrick uses one-point perspective throughout his filmography. How Edgar Wright uses close-ups to increase drama and intensity in scenes, along with horror films. Or Tarantino's low angles, and how he is one of the most easily recognisable stylistic methods in film.